Put him in Block D. Let them teach him the lesson of his life. And if he survives, I'll sign his release myself.
Put him in Block D, the chief superintendent said, laughing in a slow, condescending way. Let them teach him the lesson of his life. And if he survives, I'll sign his release myself. Most people turn away when power abuses the powerless. If you're still here, subscribe, because this story needs people who don't look away. The guards didn't look at him as they walked. Their boots echoed through the corridor, steel on concrete, rhythm tight and mechanical. The lanky black man between them moved with his head level, his wrists bound in front of him, his orange uniform 2 sizes too large. His name was Marcus, though no one had asked. They didn't care. The prison smelled like rust and sweat and something older, something that soaked into the walls over decades. The fluorescent lights overhead buzzed and flickered. Marcus kept his eyes forward. His breathing was even. Behind them, the chief superintendent stood in the observation corridor, arms folded, watching through reinforced glass. His name was Warden Callahan, though everyone called him Chief. He was 53, broad-shouldered, with silver hair slicked back and a smile that never reached his eyes. He wore his uniform like a general, crisp and proud, the kind of man who believed order came through fear. He leaned toward the guard beside him. How long you think he'll last? The guard shrugged. Block D? 2 days. Maybe 3. Callahan chuckled. I'll give him 1. The steel door at the end of the corridor opened with a mechanical groan. Beyond it, the air changed. Heavier. Louder. The muffled sounds of voices, metal clanging, boots stomping, grew sharper. This was Block D. Maximum security. Violent offenders. Lifers. Men with nothing to lose. The guards shoved Marcus forward. He stumbled once, caught himself, straightened. The door slammed shut behind him. The common area was a concrete pit. 2 levels of cells stacked high, railings rusted, paint peeling. Tables bolted to the floor. Men everywhere, standing, sitting, watching. Mostly white. A few black men scattered in corners, heads down, moving carefully. The noise stopped. Every pair of eyes turned toward Marcus. He stood in the center of the room, alone, hands still cuffed. Tall, lean, his frame almost fragile under the baggy uniform. His face was calm, unreadable. He didn't flinch, didn't scan the crowd, just stood there. A voice cut through the silence. Fresh meat. Laughter rippled through the block. Crude, sharp, testing. From the far end of the room, a man stood. He was massive, 6'4", 250, arms thick as pipes, covered in faded tattoos. His hair was buzzed short, his jaw square, his eyes cold. His name was Vic Brennan. He'd been in Block D for 12 years. He ran it. He walked toward Marcus slowly, boots heavy, shoulders rolling. The crowd parted. No one spoke. Vic stopped 5 feet away, looked Marcus up and down. He tilted his head. You lost, boy? Marcus said nothing. Big smilat. It wasn't friendly. I asked you a question. Marcus met his eyes. His voice was quiet, steady. No. Big smilafada. He stepped closer, towering over Marcus. The air tightened. You got a mouth on you. Marcus didn't respond. Vic reached out, flicked Marcus's shoulder with 2 fingers. Marcus swayed slightly, didn't react. Vic laughed, looked around at the others. Look at this. Thinks he's tough. More laughter. Louder now. A few men moved closer, circling. Vic leaned in, his breath hot. You're in my house now. You breathe when I say. You eat when I say. You speak when I say. Understand. Marcus held his gaze. I understand. Bix jauklansha. He stepped back, nodded slowly. Good. Then get on your knees. Silence. Marcus didn't move. Vic's voice dropped, colder. I said get on your knees. Marcus stood still. His hands were loose at his sides, his posture upright. He didn't blink. No. The room exhaled. Someone whistled low. Vic's face darkened. He grabbed Marcus by the front of his shirt, yanked him forward. Marcus didn't resist, didn't fight back. Vic shoved him hard against the concrete wall. Marcus's head hit with a dull thud. He winced but didn't cry out. Vic held him there, fist pressed against his chest. You think you're special? Marcus's voice was quiet, almost gentle. I think you should let me go. Vic stared at him, breathing hard. Then he laughed again, bitter and sharp. He released Marcus, stepped back, raised his hands in mock surrender. All right, we got a philosopher here. He turned to the crowd, grinning. Let's see how smart he is after a week. The guards reappeared then, unlocking Marcus's cuffs. They pointed him toward the upper level, cell 47. Marcus walked without a word. The crowd parted, eyes following him. Someone spat as he passed. Someone else whispered a slur. Marcus climbed the metal stairs, his footsteps light. He reached his cell, stepped inside. It was 8 by 10 feet. O städboink, o toilet, o sink. No window. The door clanged shut behind him. He sat on the edge of the bunk, hands resting on his knees. His face was calm. He stared at the wall, not moving, barely breathing. Outside, the noise resumed. Voices, laughter, the clang of metal. Business as usual. Up in the observation tower, Callahan watched through the monitors, sipping coffee. He smiled. Welcome to hell, he muttered. The days blurred together in Block D. Marcus kept to himself. He moved quietly, spoke rarely, avoided eye contact. He learned the rhythms quickly: count time, meals, yard rotation, lights out. He learned which men to avoid, which corners belonged to whom, when to stand still and when to move. But Block D didn't forget him. The bullying started small. Shoulder checks in the hallway. Trays knocked out of his hands. Water splashed on his bunk. Whispers and slurs muttered just loud enough for him to hear. Marcus never reacted. In the cafeteria, men would cut in front of him in line. He'd step back, wait. They'd take food off his tray before he sat down. He'd eat what was left. If there was nothing left, he didn't eat. After 3 days, he'd lost weight. His uniform hung looser. His eyes stayed calm. One afternoon in the yard, Vic's crew cornered him near the fence. 5 of them. Marcus was sitting on a bench, arms resting on his knees, watching the clouds. One of the men, a wiry guy with a scarred face named Decker, kicked the bench. Get up. Marcus looked up slowly, squinting in the sunlight. Why? Because I said so. Marcus stood. He didn't hurry. Decker stepped closer, chest puffed. You think you're better than us? Marcus shook his head. No. Then why you always so quiet? Huh? You too good to talk. Marcus didn't answer. Decker shoved him. Marcus took a step back, steadied himself. Decker shoved him again, harder. Marcus stumbled but didn't fall. Say something. Marcus met his eyes. I don't have anything to say to you. Decker's face twisted. He swung a fist at Marcus's stomach. Marcus saw it coming, shifted slightly. The punch glanced off his ribs, not clean. Decker cursed, wound up again. A whistle blew. The guards were crossing the yard, batons out. Decker backed off, hands raised, smirking. The crew scattered. Marcus stood there, breathing steady, arms at his sides. The guard stopped in front of him. You all right? Marcus nodded. Yes, sir. The guard looked him over, unconvinced. He gestured toward the cells. Get inside. Marcus walked back without a word. That night, lying on his bunk in the dark, Marcus closed his eyes. His ribs ached where Decker had hit him. His stomach was empty. He hadn't eaten since morning. But his breathing was still even. His mind still clear. He thought about the street. About the man who'd followed him. About the moment everything changed. Marcus had never been violent. He'd grown up quiet, the kind of kid who preferred books to fights, who walked away when tension rose. His mother had raised him alone, worked 2 jobs, taught him to be respectful, to keep his head down. He'd listened. He'd worked construction for 7 years after high school. Decent pay, honest work. He lived alone in a small apartment, kept to himself. He didn't drink, didn't gamble, didn't start trouble. But trouble found him anyway. There was a man who hung around the corner store near his apartment. Mid-30s, heavy-set, loud. He'd start arguments with strangers, yell at cashiers, make people uncomfortable. Marcus had seen him a dozen times, always gave him space. Then one day, the man focused on him. Started small. Comments. "Hey, Slim. You think you're tough?" Marcus ignored him. The man followed him half a block, laughing. Marcus kept walking. It happened again a week later. The man was waiting outside the store. He stepped in front of Marcus, blocked his path. "I'm talking to you." Marcus stepped around him. "I don't want any trouble." The man grabbed his arm. Marcus pulled away, kept walking. The man shouted after him, something vicious and ugly. Marcus didn't turn around. Kept happening. Marcus changed his route. Went to a different store. The man found him anyway. Followed him. Shouted. Got closer. Started pushing. Marcus asked him to stop. Tried reasoning with him. Tried walking away faster. The man wouldn't stop. One evening, Marcus was coming home from work. Tired. Covered in dust. The man was waiting at the corner. He stepped out, grabbed Marcus by the shirt, slammed him against the wall. "You think you're better than me?" Marcus tried to pull away. The man shoved him harder, screaming in his face. His breath stank of alcohol. His eyes were red, wild. Marcus raised his hands, tried to calm him. "Please, just let me go." The man swung. A wild haymaker. Marcus ducked instinctively, stepped to the side. The man stumbled, came at him again. Marcus backed into the alley. The man cornered him. "You scared now? Huh? You scared?" Marcus's hands were shaking. His heart pounded. He didn't want this. He never wanted this. The man lunged. Marcus reacted. One punch. Clean, fast, straight to the jaw. The man's head snapped back. He fell. Hit the pavement hard. His skull cracked against the curb. Marcus froze. The man didn't move. Marcus knelt beside him, checked for breathing. Nothing. His hands shook. He pulled out his phone, dialed 911. "I need help. There's a man, he's not breathing. I think I killed him." The police came. Marcus didn't run. He sat on the curb, hands on his head, waiting. He told them everything. They arrested him on the spot. The trial was fast. The man had a history, assault charges, harassment, restraining orders. Witnesses confirmed he'd been following Marcus. The defense argued self-defense. The prosecution argued excessive force. The judge called it involuntary manslaughter. Sentenced him to 10 years pending review. Marcus's lawyer said there was a good chance of parole, maybe a pardon, maybe time served if the appeals went well. But for now, he was here. Block D. Maximum security. Surrounded by men who'd done far worse for far less. And no one knew he'd spent 8 years teaching martial arts before construction. No one knew he'd competed, won medals, trained others. No one knew what he could do, because he'd never needed to show them. Until now. The bullying got worse. They stole his clothes while he showered, left him with nothing but a towel. They poured bleach in his water bottle. They scratched insults into the walls of his cell. They whispered threats in the chow line, promised violence, tested his limits. Marcus endured. He didn't complain, didn't report, didn't fight back. He moved like a shadow, silent and still, waiting for the storm to pass. But storms in Block D don't pass. One morning, during breakfast, Vic walked up to Marcus's table. Marcus was sitting alone, eating a slice of dry toast. Vic grabbed the tray, dumped it on the floor. Oops. The cafeteria went quiet. Marcus looked down at the mess, then up at Vic. He didn't speak. Vic leaned down, his face inches away. Pick it up. Marcus held his gaze. No. Bix žautik tanat. He straightened, kicked the tray across the floor, clattered into the wall. Pick up. Marcus stood slowly. He was tall, but Vic was bigger, thicker, heavier. The size difference was obvious. The crowd gathered, circling, murmuring. Marcus's voice was quiet. I'm not picking it up. Vic shoved him. Hard. Marcus stumbled back, caught himself against the table. Vic stepped forward, chest out, fists clenched. You got a death wish? Marcus straightened. His face was calm, his hands open at his sides. I just want to be left alone. Be lauga. Cold, sharp. He turned to the crowd. You hear this guy? He wants to be left alone. The crowd laughed with him. Vic turned back, his smile gone. You don't get left alone in here. You get what I give you. And right now I'm giving you a choice. Pick up the tray, or I break your jaw. Marcus didn't move. Vic's hand shot out, grabbed Marcus by the throat, slammed him against the wall. Marcus's head hit hard. His vision blurred for a second. Vic's grip tiktanat. I said pick it up. Marcus's hands came up, not to fight, just to breathe. Vic's kasarde. Marcus's eyes watered, his face reddening. Then the whistle blew. Guards rushed in. Vic released him, stepped back, hands raised, grinning. Marcus slumped against the wall, gasping. The guards grabbed Vic, dragged him toward solitary. Vic didn't resist. He looked back at Marcus, still smiling. See you soon, boy. Marcus slid down the wall, sitting on the cold floor. He pressed a hand to his throat, coughing. No one helped him. The crowd dispersed, went back to eating, talking, laughing. Marcus sat there for 5 minutes. Then he stood, walked back to his cell and closed the door. That night, he lay on his bunk, staring at the ceiling. His throat ached. His head throbbed. His ribs were bruised. His stomach was empty, but his mind was still clear. He thought about his mother, about the dojo where he used to teach, about the kids who looked up to him, who called him coach, about the tournaments where he'd won, where he'd proven himself not through anger but through discipline. He thought about the man in the alley, about the punch that changed everything. He thought about Vic, about the way this place worked, about what would happen if he kept doing nothing. And he knew. It was only a matter of time. Vic got out of solitary after 3 days. He came back angrier, meaner, more focused. He didn't touch Marcus right away. He circled him, made him wait, let the tension build. Marcus felt it. The eyes watching him, the whispers, the way men moved when he entered a room. Everyone knew what was coming. One afternoon in the yard, Vic called him out. Marcus! The yard went silent. Marcus was standing near the fence, alone. He turned slowly. Vic was in the center, surrounded by his crew. 8 men, all of them watching. Vic gesturat. Come here. Marcus didn't move. I said come here. Marcus walked forward, slow and steady. The crowd parted. He stopped 10 feet away from Vic. Vic smilat. You've been disrespectful. Marcus said nothing. You made me look bad in front of my people. You think that's okay? Marcus's voice was quiet. I didn't make you do anything. Vic's smilafada. He stepped closer. You got a smart mouth. I don't like smart mouths. Marcus didn't respond. Vic circled him slowly, hands loose at his sides. The crew tightened the circle. No guards were watching. Or maybe they were and they didn't care. Vic stopped in front of him, inches away. I'm gonna give you one more chance. Get on your knees. Apologize. And maybe I let you walk away. Marcus looked him in the eye. No. Vic's face darkened. He swung. A right hook, fast and heavy, aimed at Marcus's jaw. Marcus moved. He slipped the punch, minimal movement, just enough. Vic's fist cut through air. Vic stumbled forward, off balance. Marcus stepped aside, light on his feet. Vic spun, swung again. Wilder this time. Marcus ducked, sidestepped. Vic missed again. The crowd murmured. Vic roared, charged forward, arms wide, trying to tackle Marcus. Marcus waited until the last second, pivoted, let Vic's momentum carry him past. Vic crashed into the fence, cursing. He turned, breathing hard, face red. He looked at Marcus, who stood calm, hands at his sides, barely winded. Vic's crew started forward. Marcus didn't move. Vic held up a hand, stopping them. He straightened, rolled his shoulders, cracked his neck. His eyes locked on Marcus. All right, You got some moves. Let's see how long they last. He came at Marcus again, methodical this time. Jab, cross, jab. Marcus blocked the first, slipped the second, stepped inside the third. He was close now, chest to chest with Vic. Vic tried to grab him. Marcus's hand shot out, precise, drove into Vic's solar plexus. Vic gasped, doubled over. Marcus stepped back. Vic wheezed, clutching his stomach. He looked up, eyes wide, confused. No one had done that to him in 12 years. He straightened slowly, rage twisting his face. He charged again, reckless, throwing wild punches. Marcus moved like water, avoiding, deflecting, never striking back harder than necessary.
Biksum ay makar.
Marcus ducked, came up inside Vic's guard, drove an elbow into his ribs.
Big grunta, stajarat.
Marcus swept his leg. Vic went down hard, hitting the concrete on his back. The yard fell silent. Vic lay there, stunned, blinking up at the sky. Marcus stood over him, breathing steady, hands loose. He didn't gloat, didn't speak, just waited. Vic's crew looked at each other. No one moved. No one knew what to do. Marcus turned, walked away. The crowd parted like water. He walked back inside, left Vic on the ground, and disappeared into the block. Behind him, the yard erupted in whispers. Everything changed after that. Vic stayed in his cell for 2 days. When he came out, he didn't speak to Marcus, didn't look at him. He moved carefully, like a man who'd been humbled, unsure of his place. The crew scattered. Some stayed loyal, but most drifted. Power in Block D wasn't inherited. It was earned. And Marcus had earned it without asking. Men stopped bothering him. They nodded when he passed, gave him space. A few even asked him questions, quiet, respectful. How'd you do that? Where'd you learn? Marcus answered with 1 or 2 words, never more. The fights in Block D decreased. Arguments that used to end in blood now ended in words. Men who'd been bullied for years started standing taller, speaking louder. They looked to Marcus not for protection, but for permission. Marcus didn't want it. He didn't lead, didn't give speeches, didn't enforce rules. But his presence alone shifted the air. One evening, a new inmate, young, scared, barely 20, got cornered by 2 men in the showers. They wanted his shoes. The kid refused. They raised their fists. Marcus walked in. He didn't say anything, just stood there, arms crossed, watching. The 2 men looked at him, then at each other. They backed off, walked away. The kid stammered a thank you. Marcus nodded, left. Word spread fast. Don't mess with anyone when Marcus is around. Don't start trouble in the yard. Don't be stupid. The guards noticed. They didn't know what to make of it. Fights were down. Incidents were down. The block was quieter, calmer. That should have been good. But it made them uneasy. Callahan noticed too. He watched the monitors, jaw tight, eyes narrowed. He'd sent Marcus to Block D to be broken. Instead, Marcus had broken the block itself. Reshaped it. Taken control without raising his voice. Callahan didn't like it. One morning, he called Marcus to his office. Marcus sat in a chair across from Callahan's desk, hands resting on his knees, posture straight. The office was clean, organized, filled with plaques and awards. Callahan sat back, fingers steepled, studying Marcus like a puzzle he couldn't solve. You've been busy. Marcus didn't respond. Callahan leaned forward. You know what my job is? To run this prison. To maintain order, control, discipline. And you're disrupting that. Marcus's face was calm. I haven't done anything. Callahan smiled, thin and cold. That's the problem. You don't have to. You just exist. And suddenly everyone's looking at you instead of me. Marcus held his gaze. I just want to serve my time and leave. You're not leaving. Not anytime soon. So you better get comfortable. Marcus didn't flinch. Callahan stood, walked around the desk, leaned against it, arms folded. Let me tell you something. This prison works because men like Vic exist. They keep the chaos manageable. They keep the weak in line. You beat Vic, and now everyone thinks they can challenge the system. That's dangerous. Marcus's voice was quiet. Maybe the system needs to be challenged. Callahan's jaw tightened. He stepped closer, looked down at Marcus. You think you're special? You think you're some kind of hero? Marcus shook his head. No. I'm just trying to survive. Then you'll do it my way. Stay in your cell. Keep your head down. Stop pretending you're in charge. Marcus stood slowly, meeting Callahan's eyes. I'm not pretending anything. Callahan's face darkened. Get out. Marcus walked to the door, stopped, looked back. Sir, I didn't ask for any of this. I just defended myself. If you want order, maybe stop putting men in situations where they have to. He left before Callahan could respond. Callahan stood alone in his office, fists clenched, breathing hard. He grabbed the phone, dialed. Transfer Marcus to solitary. Now. They came for him that night. For guards. They cuffed him, dragged him out of his cell. Men watched from their bunks, silent, tense. Marcus didn't resist. Didn't ask why. He walked calmly, head up. Solitary was a 6x8 concrete box. No bed. No window. A slot in the door for food. Darkness. Silence. They threw him inside. Slammed the door. The lock clicked. Marcus stood in the dark, listening to the echo of their footsteps fade. He sat down back against the wall, closed his eyes. He stayed there for 14 days. No sunlight. No sound. Meals came through the slot. Stale bread, water, sometimes nothing. He lost track of time. The dark pressed in, heavy, suffocating. But Marcus didn't break. He meditated, counted breaths, focused on his heartbeat. He thought about the lessons he used to teach. Control, discipline, patience. He practiced forms in his mind, visualizing each movement, each strike, each step. When they finally released him, he walked out of solitary thinner, quieter, but unbroken. The block was waiting. The men stood when he entered, nodded, murmured. Marcus walked past them, climbed to his cell, closed the door. Vic watched from across the block. He looked older now, smaller. He didn't say anything. That night, Marcus lay on his bunk, staring at the ceiling. His body ached. His mind was tired. But something inside him had solidified. He wasn't here to fight. He wasn't here to lead. But he wouldn't be broken. Not by Callahan. Not by this place. He closed his eyes and slept. Callahan didn't stop. Over the next 3 months, he tried everything. Extra work details, restricted meals, random searches, harassment, threats. He moved Marcus to different cells, different blocks, always trying to isolate him, humiliate him, break his spirit. It didn't work. Marcus adapted, stayed quiet, stayed strong. The men followed him anyway, not because he asked, but because he showed them what dignity looked like. Callahan grew desperate. He started cutting corners, falsifying reports, punishing men without cause. The guards noticed. Some stayed loyal. Others started questioning. One guard, a younger man named Notorious, kept notes, dates, incidents, violations. He didn't say anything yet, but he watched. Meanwhile, Marcus's case was being reviewed. His lawyer filed new motions. Witnesses came forward. The victim's history was examined. Self-defense became harder to dispute. Callahan found out about the review. He panicked. If Marcus was released, it would expose everything. The corruption, the abuse, the way Callahan used Block D as a weapon. He made a decision. He called Vic into his office. Vic sat across from Callahan, wary, tired. He wasn't the same man. Losing to Marcus had broken something inside him. Callahan leaned forward. I need you to take care of something.
Big Fronat.
What? Marcus. I need him gone. Vic stared at him. Gone. Attacked. Badly. I don't care how. Just make it look like self-defense. I'll cover it. Vic leaned back, shook his head.
No.
Callahan's face hardened. No. I'm done. I'm not doing your dirty work anymore. Callahan's voice dropped, cold. You don't have a choice. You do this or I bury you. More time. Worse block.
No parole.
Ever. Vic looked at him, jaw tight. He stood. Do what you want. I'm not touching him. He walked out. Callahan sat alone, breathing hard, fists clenched. He picked up the phone, dialed. I need external contractors. Off the books. 2 men. Make it clean. 2 days later, 2 inmates were transferred into Block D. They were quiet, professional, dangerous. They didn't talk to anyone, didn't join groups, just watched Marcus. Marcus noticed. He always noticed. One evening in the yard, they made their move. Marcus was alone near the fence. They approached from opposite sides, casual, hands in pockets. The first one pulled a shank. Marcus saw it. He stepped back, raised his hands. The second man lunged. Marcus sidestepped, grabbed his wrist, twisted. The man grunted, dropped the weapon. Marcus shoved him away. The first man swung the shank. Marcus ducked, came up inside, struck his elbow. The shank clattered to the ground. Marcus kicked it away. Guards were running now, whistles blowing. The 2 men backed off, hands raised. Marcus stood there, breathing steady, untouched. Torres was one of the guards. He grabbed the shank, looked at the 2 men, then at Marcus. He saw something in Marcus's eyes. Calm, knowing, patient. Torres made a decision. He filed a report. Not the standard one, a detailed one. Names, dates, connections. He sent it to Internal Affairs. The investigation started quietly. 3 weeks later, Callahan was called into a meeting. Regional oversight. Federal investigators. They had everything. Falsified reports. Abuse of power. Endangerment. Conspiracy. Callahan tried to deny it. Tried to deflect. But the evidence was overwhelming. He was removed from duty. Arrested. Charged. The news spread through the prison like wildfire. In Block D, men gathered in the common area, talking, laughing, stunned. Callahan was gone. The system had turned on itself. Marcus sat in his cell, reading a letter from his lawyer. The review board had ruled in his favor. Self-defense. Time served. He'd be released in 2 weeks. He folded the letter, set it aside, closed his eyes. He didn't feel victorious, just tired. The day Marcus left, the block gathered to see him off. Men he'd never spoken to. Men he'd protected without asking. They stood silent, respectful, as he walked through the corridor, carrying nothing but a single bag. Vic was there. He stepped forward, offered his hand. Marcus paused, looked at him, shook it.
Vic nuda.
You taught me something. Marcus didn't ask what. He just nodded back. At the gate, Torres was waiting. He handed Marcus his discharge papers, smiled. Good luck out there. Marcus shook his hand. Thank you. He walked through the gate, into the sunlight, into the world. Behind him, Block D was different. Quieter. Men treated each other better. Fights were rare. Respect was earned, not taken. Marcus didn't know if it would last. Maybe it wouldn't. Maybe the system would revert, find new Callahans, new Vics. But for now it was better. And that was enough. Marcus stood outside the prison, the sun warm on his face. He took a deep breath, let it out slowly. He thought about his mother, about going home, about starting over. He thought about the man in the alley, the punch that changed everything. The guilt still lived in him, quiet and heavy. It always would. But he'd survived. He'd endured. He'd kept his dignity when the world tried to strip it away. He started walking, 1 foot in front of the other. No destination, just forward. Because that's all anyone can do. Keep moving, keep breathing, keep choosing dignity over rage, restraint over violence, justice over revenge. The world doesn't always reward that choice. But sometimes, if you're patient, if you're strong, if you refuse to be broken, sometimes it does.